I am back and I am doing a solo review today of Divine Intervention by Slayer. My goal is to cover and review all of Slayer's albums. So yeah, if you guys like dig our content, give us a like and subscribe on our channel. We're trying to put out more and more reviews as this goes along. Sean and I are huge music fans. Sometimes he doesn't get the chance to cover albums with me, so I try to do some on my own. And I'm a huge Slayer fan. I've listened to all their albums back to front. This is an album that I really wanted to review because I think honestly, Divine Intervention is one of I think it's unfortunate that it's rated as low as it is by a lot of fans. I look at the track list. I think that almost any of these songs could be brought back live in a live setting and absolutely kill if Slayer was still touring. Because I think the only thing that holds this album back really is the production. It's not as clean as Seasons in the Abyss or even the Diabolus in Musica, which is objectively like their worst album. And it's not as well produced as their new stuff, like Repentless or World Painted Blood or Christ Illusion. If you look through some of the reviews, you'll see that apparently, or the history of this album, you'll see that apparently it had a bit of an inconsistent production process. I'm not really sure what happened, but I think like Kerry King alluded to like there being like a million different sound engineers, and and that it should have had more attention. The sound is kind of wonky in my opinion. It's very tinny. The kick drum kind of sounds like a mouse clicking almost. But regardless, I think this album really took the template of what Rain and Blood was, and it went off of it. But not only that, there are slower numbers, there are faster numbers, and so I don't know. I guess I'll just get into it right away. This album came after Seasons in the Abyss, and Seasons in the Abyss was like their magnum opus. It was, well, Rain and Blood was considered their magnum opus. So Season of the Abyss put them on the map. They had this huge tour. This was the longest gap of time that they had between recording albums. And Tom Araya even said to himself that they want to take more time before they recorded this. And apparently there was a funny exchange with the record label where they told us that they wanted them to do, they were like, we need a hit song. And he said, but you've got 11 songs, and if you can't find a hit in one of them, you're out of luck because that's what we're giving you. And then so it was like them saying like, you write the hit song and we'll record it, and that shut the guy up. So they had no more meetings like that. This is Slayer really sticking to themselves in a period when bands like Metallica and Megadeth, their sound was starting to, I don't want to say get watered down a little bit, but Metallica was about to head into their rock phase. So Slayer really avoided feeding into that, and they stuck to their guns. They stuck to what they knew and what they were good at, which was just thrash, dark subject matter, crazy, ridiculous solos. I'm glad that they didn't go the route of grunge or whatever the other bands were. Also, it's got some pretty intense cover art. I think the cover art looks like a pentagram over outer space, which ties into the theme of outer space, which I'll get into later later in this review. And it's just this guy carved Slayer into his back. It's really creepy. You can look it up. There's a Serenity and Murder EP, and you can see it in their live album after they did this, which is what I was gonna also add to this album, is that the tour that followed led to one of their first or second, I think their first live concert DVD. I could be wrong, but Live Intrusion, which is a great show. Great concert recording. So this album, I guess I get started with the tracks. Well, there was of course the recording process, which Tom Araya said was slowed down. They took a break. The guys are heading in their 30s too, and also Dave Lombardo left the band due to just differences with some of the band members. They wanted to tour while he had a family, and they were all kind of getting married and settled down. Like I think Tom Araya was getting married, Carrie King was married. They were all just kind of becoming family men, I guess, but they didn't lose their intensity. So where I begin with what I love about this album is the subject matter. There's just like really interesting subject matter on this album. So I guess I'll just start with the first track, Killing Fields. Killing Fields is pretty standard Slayer. I think it has like a nod time signature, and it opens with this crazy drum fill from Paul Bostaph. Right away, it sets the tone for what you're going to get. And it's got great riffs, it's got great chugging, it's got great everything. In my opinion, it's not one of the stronger tracks off the album. It's the one, I think it's the song I listen to the least. Because a lot of the song just kind of like goes on and on. It doesn't really go anywhere after a while, but it's still a solid track. And it's about, you guessed it, war. I don't think it's about like Pol Pot and the killing fields. Maybe, but I don't think so. I think it's just they just need a song title and they went for it. Killing Fields, great track. Not my favorite, not my personal favorite off the album, but still good stuff. They move into Sex Murder Art. And Sex Murder Art, I think to really appreciate the song, you have to see Live Intrusion, because it's got this incredible outro of this is like ascending riff. The song is about a relationship. I guess you could say, I think I read somewhere, Sex Murder Art roars about a maddening relationship and its pleasure inflicting pain. So there's clearly some themes about BDSM here, dominance and submission. And it's very hardcore punk because there's no solos. It's only 1 minute and 50 seconds long. I think it's one of Slayer's like shortest songs. And that's where you really hear Hanneman's punk influence. The lyrics are by Tom Araya, same with Killing Fields. The music is by Carrie King. And I think the highlight of the song is the tempo change in the middle, where it goes from being really fast and really intense to the end. It's this buildup where it's just like this ascending riff. If you play guitar, you'll know what I mean. If you check the tab, you know what I mean. And like the way this track ends, the lyrics are like, God is dead, I'm alive. And it just ends. Like, again, Slayer, nobody's better than them at ending songs super abruptly. Just 1 second, I'm going to raise my desk so the mic can be near my face. Sex Murder Art's like one of my favorite tracks off the album. And then, so I don't have much else to really add to Sex Murder Art. Great title, great track overall. Jeff Hanneman didn't play it live apparently because he didn't know the chords for it, and they had to actually they had to give him a whole talk about that, being like, hey, there's from now on you have to know all the songs. Apparently he was drinking a lot in sessions and he just didn't learn it, or he didn't want to play it. But if you check the live album, Live Intrusion, you'll see that he actually, I think he walks off stage, or the lights go dark where he's supposed to be, and there's no Jeff Hanneman on the song. So then we move into Fictional Reality, and it's a song that Sean's actually not crazy about, but I love Fictional Reality. I think the high point of this song is the main riff. It's a really tricky but tight riff to pull off. Excuse me. And the drumming is solid. The lyrics, I guess, leave a little bit to be desired. I guess maybe the chorus comes off as kind of cringe to people, but I mean, I don't really care. I think it's heavy, and that's what matters. It's got a sick rhythm, and really just it's a good track. I don't really know what the subject matter is about. I'll just put up the lyrics. There's like one lyric about a socialist regime, but I don't think it's necessarily explicitly about socialism quite in the way that Blood Red is about. Crisis feeds lunacy, I'll fear the new machine, consume democracy, returns a socialist regime. Can't say but the rest of the song doesn't make any references to socialism. But I mean, maybe it is. I really don't know. I mean, I think Blood Red came out at a time when like the wall was falling down. Like in terms of historical context, when this came out, Communism is still around, but not in like the Western world where the wall fell in 89 and all these countries declared independence. But I'm not really sure if it's necessarily like, okay, I see scavengers closing and covering the truth can castrate society, fictional reality. I mean, it could very well be about propaganda and really about how governments go, the length that governments go to repress people. That's what I think. That's my interpretation. I could totally be wrong on that one, but that's what I get from it. The next one is Ditto Head. And Ditto Head is an absolute classic. It's probably my favorite off the album, off besides one of the next few tracks, because I'd say this is one of the songs that actually got me really into Slayer. Ditto Head is basically about the legal system and its permissiveness. It's very, 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 very 90s. Like, I'm actually going to pull the lyrics just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, but it's very 90s. You look at this and you're like, the country's lost its grip, subconscious hold begins to slip, the scale of justice tend to tip. I guess it's kind of coming at a time where you've got like Lorena Bobbitt, you've got the O.J. Simpson trial. Apparently, it's a reference to the commentator Rush Limbaugh. His fans were called Ditto Heads. I think they they went through a bit of a Rush Limbaugh phase because they just watched a lot of TV, but it's just a criticism of the legal system that is too lenient on killers, and that's a very Slayer theme. Honestly, they're not necessarily condoning. Um, they're not advocating for judicial reform here. That's not Slayer's that's not Slayer's bag. That's not what they're doing. They're sort of showing you that the legal system is screwed up and that people can just get off for committing these incredibly violent crimes. And that's basically it. But I think where the song really excels is not necessarily the lyrics. I think it's the music. It's so fast. I think it's like 220 beats per minute. The drumming and the guitar is absolutely relentless. And I think it's just one of those songs that reminds me of Hello Waits in the sense where it's just like, how does the song get even heavier and heavier? I have no idea. Like, it gets to a part where I think it's the bridge where the double kick comes in, and excuse me, it's like they're playing these minor chords or major, I'm not really sure, but these chords, it's like that part. It's like, how does this get heavier and heavier? I have no idea. But that part that builds up into this ascending harmony between King and Hanneman, and then it builds up and then it ends. Then King comes in with his demonic guitar solo, demonic tapping guitar solo. Even Jeff Hanneman's solo before that is really good. Like, I love the ascending part. It's just such incredible craftsmanship from these guys. Like, again, I don't know how they come up with this stuff. I think someone asked Kerry King at like a guitar demo show to like play play Ditto Head, and he was like, "That's the song where I just make things harder for myself for no reason." It's like, listen, make it as hard as you want. I love the music. I'm not complaining. It's hard to play, but uh, Ditto Head is definitely my favorite off the. I saw them play it live. Really, really, really good stuff. I guess that's all I have to say about Ditto Head. Fast song, very hardcore punk. But we then move into the next one, and that's Divine Intervention, the title track. So it's interesting because the lyrics it's very much a group effort on this one. Tom Araya, Jeff Hanneman, Kerry King, and Paul Bostaff all contribute to the lyrics. The music, of course, is Hanneman and King. This song is a grower. I didn't really get it at first, to be honest. It wasn't really a song that. It's a different song. It's 5 minutes long. It's the longest one on the album, and it reminds me of Hello Waits and its build up. But it's this creepy clean section, and it's got like 4 or 5 guitars, so it's a lot going on. But lyrically, it's very vague. I know what it's about, but I had no idea what it was about at first. I think this is one of those unique songs in Slayer's catalog because, I mean, okay, I'll give you the lyrics and you can guess and tell me if you think this is what you think this is about. Okay. So let's get the lyrics going. Awaken in a web like hell. How do they reach this place? Why are they haunting me? I cannot look at God's face. You might think it's about um, something religion related or something occult or satanic, but it's actually about an alien abduction. It's about I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Fire in the Sky. It's an old 90s movie about a guy who gets abducted. And I think this movie is probably one of the most, um, not realistic, but okay, I'm talking about like alien abductions here. It feels the most realistic of all the alien abduction stories because this guy just disappeared for a few days and he claimed to have been abducted by aliens. But I mean, obviously, we have no idea if it's true or not. But this song sounds exactly like the movie when he's tortured by aliens because you look at lyrics like victimized specimen, deathless torture, void with no mercy, black shroud blinds those who see. Because this guy is like tortured by aliens on this ship. And then there's a part that says segments of my life, morbid pieces of reality, twisted personality, many faces yet faceless, familiar things give way to strange, no mercy, no reason. Just so I think that's just it's supposed to be, I think it lyrically it's ambiguous. It could sound like someone who's, I don't know, in some sort of like limbo world between like heaven and hell, or but he's abducted by aliens. And it sounds very alien-esque. I know it does. I mean it just it's supposed to be creepy when you hear it, but anyways, I love this song. I think it's kind of hit and miss with some fans. It was never really brought back into their live show after Live Intrusion, but I like it. What are you going to do? Next one is Circle of Beliefs. This one also doesn't get the best rap, I think, from music critics. And I get that. That's fine. I think it's a bit of a tired subject with Slayer. It's just typical Kerry King railing against organized religion. But for me, I think it's the music is what really holds it up. It's got some of the solos are a bit derivative, but the riffs are great. And if you're looking for thrash, this is it. I mean, this is what you get. And I think it's Slayer just doing what they do best. But I do get the sense that is like kind of like paint by numbers Slayer, and people would probably wish they'd be more inventive with what they do. But look, that's what other songs are for in this album. This one is just really it's your meat and potato Slayer song. Great. I love the midsection, the middle riff for me is great. Very tough to pull off on guitar, like most Slayer is, but that's all I really got to say about Circle of Beliefs because again, it's not the best song off the album, but it's a song that I don't necessarily I don't feel like skipping when I hear it. I can listen to this song. The next one, SS3. This is a this is not as controversial as Angel of Death was, but I guess this is either their second song about either Nazis or war. I think they did another song about the Eastern Front in South of Heaven. SS3 is about Reinhard Heydrich. It's kind of like a history lesson. Again, Slayer doesn't condone any of these things, any of these subjects. They're merely exploring the subject and seeing how you'll react to it. Well, they're just telling a story, right? It's no different than watching a movie. But it's about this guy who was also named the Hangman of Prague because he was assassinated by Czech partisans in World War II. And as a response, he basically razed Czech villages. It's a really gruesome story. It's very dark, but it's a phenomenal song. The way it's written is great. The riffs, the speed at which they pull it off is really good. It's to me, I wouldn't say it's a song that belongs in their live lineup, but the solos are great. Again, it's just a well told story, and the lyrics are great too. Um, the lyrics are actually by Araya, which is I mean, surprising because I no, sorry, Hanneman. Hanneman. That's of course it's Jeff Hanneman because he talks about war, and the music is Hanneman and King. Great solos. Yeah, I love SS3 is great. Then we move on to Serenity and Murder. Now, this was the song that I think is like the second, probably the second most well-known song on the album. I think it's just because it has a video accompanying it, but I mean, to me, it's a good song. Another Paint by Numbers Slayer number. Riffs are great, but I think at that point, when you get to Serenity and Murder, it's nothing you haven't really seen from them already on this album, and you're kind of just I don't know, you're like ready for the next one. Some people may like Serenity and Murder. It's just about a serial killer, like most Tom Araya songs that he contributes. Can't really say that much about it because, like I said, I think that over time, other songs this album have kind of outshined this song. Yeah, so that's Serenity and Murder. I think it's one of the shorter numbers in the album. I think it's almost as short as Ditto Head is. And then we move into 213. So, what makes reviewing this album relevant is the fact that 213 is about Jeffrey Dahmer, which again, very dark subject matter, but it's got a lot of people don't like Dahmer. I haven't watched it. I might watch it, but I like my sleep too much. I don't want to watch something that's too. Maybe I'll give it a watch. I don't know. Generally, there's a lot of stuff to watch on Netflix, but that's another story. 213 is the apartment number of Jeffrey Dahmer. And this song, I think, does a great job of just, again, telling the story of what Dahmer did, and also tells, it kind of explains or sort of talks about his relationship with the the people that he murdered, and it's just like that's what all Slayer serial killer songs are. They're just a exploration into the mind of the person, and you see that he thinks he was in love with these people, which I'm sure the show explores, but again, I haven't seen, I'm not sure. 213 has got a really unsettling intro. Kind of sounds like Seasons in the Abyss. Again, Slayer is not the band that, if you're looking for like some like Blue Oyster Cult acoustic intro, that's not them. That's never been their thing. But they know how to start a song, like a really creepy, how to make a creepy build up in a song. And that's what they do in this one. Then it picks up, and when the main riff comes in, boy, it's like getting hit over the head. It hits you, and the rest of the song is, I mean, honestly, the rest of the song is pretty good, but I don't think it's one of the better songs off By Intervention, but it's another song that's grown on me over time, and I would put as like one of the better songs off this album. Then we close with Mind Control. Again, another grower. For me, I really like it. It's kind of like I don't really know what it's about. I think some people have thought it's about like ego death. I'm gonna look that up because I think that you could probably make a good argument for it being about ego death, but I'm not really quite sure about that. Mind control, pain unfolds, earlier sensations, weakening reasoning. I can't read this. It's just too much. Well, I mean, the end of the song, cerebral death can come to your dreams. Maybe that's what it's about. Maybe there you go. Like this is about. Maybe that's your answer. Is it about ego death among song meetings? Some people think it's about drug addiction, being possessed by something. This is definitely that's the 90s quality of this album, is that a lot of these songs are kind of left open to interpretation, right? Like, I mean, Mind Control is left open to interpretation. Actually, I don't think that they're all left open to interpretation. Anyways, I don't know what this is about. But that said, it's it's still a solid song. It's got great riffs, super fast. I love the ending of it because I love the cymbal choke with Paul Bostaph. Paul Bostap's drumming on this album is phenomenal, and a lot of people like to compare Bostaph to Dave Lombardo. I kind of give Dave Lombardo the edge. I think Kerry King summed it up as like Dave Lombardo is a natural, and Paul Bostaph is great, but it's because he practices and he puts in the work. Um, I guess for me, Dave Lombardo is more of a jazz edge to, like to his fills. He's got a great feel for the drums, and Paul Bostaph is really technical, but he adds the right amount of thrash to Slayer. He's not doing crazy, ridiculous death metal blast beats. Um, it's just tasteful, you know. And they had to really vet drummers before they hired him, and I think he was the right man for the job. So that sums up Divine Intervention. There you go. It's just really 10 songs. It's 36 minutes long. It's not a super long album. I really dig it. I would put it somewhere up in like their top 5 albums. Again, a lot of people don't like it necessarily, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but I do think it deserves. If you're a casual Slayer fan or a hardcore metal fan, I think it deserves a listen. Is it one of the greatest thrash metal albums of all time? Not necessarily, but it holds its own. I like it. I think it's great. Um, some people give it a 7 on 10. I could give it a solid 7.5 or an 8 because again, it's not Seasons of the Abyss and it's not Rain and Blood. And so yeah, that's my review of Divine Intervention. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Maybe we'll do Undisputed Attitude next, or some of the later ones, but hoping to cover all of Slayer's albums. Have a good one, guys. Peace, and see you on the next one.